Dear listeners, welcome again to the EduCamp project and our training module on education for sustainable development. In this presentation, I like to talk with you about teaching and learning for sustainable development. This presentation is divided into two parts. Part 1 deals with learning for sustainable development. We will talk about formal, informal and non-formal learning, the pillars of learning, approaches for ESD. We will discuss the terms knowledge, skills, perspectives and values, and also think about what can be quality criteria to assess ESD in schools. And the second part will deal with learning styles. So I start with the first one and the terms formal, informal and non-formal learning. Also in previous presentations about sustainable development and education for sustainable development, we talked about that ESD needs to be implemented at all levels of learning. Formal school education alone cannot carry this responsibility. So formal, informal and non-formal learning really need to complement each other, and especially when we think of that ESD should be a lifelong process. So what are now the differences between formal, informal and non-formal learning? Formal learning is all learning that occurs in an organized and structured environment, for instance in schools or university, and formal learning is explicitly designated as learning. So it has learning objectives, structured time and resources, and also assessment. So formal learning is also intentional from the learner's point of view, and typically it leads to validation and certification. Then second, informal learning. This is learning that results from daily activities related to work, to family, but also to leisure issues. It's not organized, it's not structured in terms of objectives, time or also learning materials, learning support, and mostly it's unintentional from the learner's perspective. So you don't say, okay, I want to learn now, but it just occurs unconsciously. And the last point, non-formal learning. This is learning which is embedded in planned activities, but they are not always explicitly designated as learning. So you don't have these learning objectives or also support, but they especially contain an important learning element. For instance, when you go to workshops, sports or to the museum, there you are interested in learning new aspects, activities, but it's not this, you have these learning objectives and assessment. So non-formal learning is intentional from the learner's point of view. When we talk about learning for sustainable development, 4 pillars of learning were defined by Delors, and a 5th pillar was added afterwards. So the pillars are learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be, and the 5th one is learning to transform oneself and society. When we think about the first one now, learning to know, this really relates to knowledge, also your values and skills for respecting and understanding and searching for knowledge and for wisdom. Learning to do, it also relates to knowledge, values and skills for your active engagement in productive employment and also recreation. So it's what you are doing. Learning to live together. This now relates to international, intercultural, intergenerational and community cooperation. Learning to be, it's about the knowledge and skills for your personal life and for your family well-being. And the last pillar, learning to transform oneself and society. This is really the knowledge, the values and the skills for achieving a sustainable future. So for yourself, but also for society. In the EduCamp project, at the beginning of the project, we identified some approaches, principles where we think they are important when we like to teach and learn education for sustainable development. And these are the approaches. It's that learning, teaching should be interdisciplinary. It should have this holistic approach, so to get this system understanding also and seeing the big picture. It should be inquiry-based, problem-oriented, also application-oriented, participatory, interactive, so that the students are really involved in learning, in the learning process. The activities or the learning should, on the one hand, relate to the local problems and needs, but also to the global ones. So to also have this tension between local and global issues. And of course, it should appreciate human rights. So we took this as a basis for developing our project and also our training modules. We already heard that education for sustainable development addresses knowledge, skills, perspectives and values. So it's not just only the knowledge base related to environment, economy and society, which is important, but when teaching ESD you should also address skills, perspectives and values that guide the students, the people to seek sustainable livelihoods or participate in community life, in democracy, in other issues. So it's important that you really try to address all those topics, all those issues. Knowledge in this term now means that, as I just said before, it's about the knowledge of environment, economics and society that is interlinked with each other, and it's important to have a basic knowledge, a basic understanding from different disciplines like natural sciences, social sciences, humanities, so that you really have this understanding to be able to then understand the principles of sustainable development. And of course for a teacher it's a big challenge also to select knowledge that is important for sustainability goals, because when you now also look to new media, to the internet, there is such a variety of information and it can be a challenge to pick out the really important issues. So that's about knowledge. Then skills, of course we need skills also to continue learning and to live a sustainable life. In this regard we mean, for instance, the ability, the skill to be able to communicate effectively, to work in teams, to think in time, so to be able to think about your past, your present and your future, and how, for instance, past activities also have an impact on what you do today and what you plan in the future. It's about being able to think critically about your own values, about your perspectives. It's about the capacity to move from awareness to knowledge and then also to take action. It's the ability to cooperate with other people and also to use different processes of knowing, inquiring, acting, connecting, valuing and so on. And so this is about the skills. Now perspectives and values. Perspectives mean the importance of understanding global issues as well as local issues in a global context. It's fostering systemic and holistic thinking, learning to deal with complex and uncertain situations, and also learning to consider an issue from the view of different stakeholders and different viewpoints. And the values are of course also an integral part of ESD. understanding values is an essential part of understanding also your own belief systems, and so also to be able to understand what's your society, what are the values of your society you are living in, and also when you work with people from other countries, that you are also be able to understand their value systems and also differences in the value system, so that you be able to respect each other. And the values also include aspects of social justice, as for instance meeting basic human needs, the concern for human rights, welfare of people, respect for traditions and religions and other cultures, as I just said before. So I now like to talk with you about how can we integrate education for sustainable development also in the education curriculum. And there are, when we see it in a very broad sense, two options. We can see ESD as an individual discipline. So like you see here, we have all those disciplines that are being taught in school, for instance science, maths, literature, language, and we can add ESD as a different or as an individual discipline. Or the other option would be to see ESD really as a multidisciplinary subject, so that ESD is included in all those disciplines as we know them, like science, language, environmental education and so on. And that we really try to integrate ESD issues in all these subjects and also try that they more closely work together then. This is, I guess, the more difficult option, but it will also have a better impact then, because ESD, it's complex, and but it connects so many different issues. So we should really try to integrate or see ESD as a multidisciplinary subject, and to integrate all this sustainability knowledge, the skills we need, our values and perspectives into the whole curriculum and into the whole educational system. On this slide, in this table, you can see the dimensions of sustainability, so society, environment, economy and culture, and the ESD areas, knowledge, attitudes, values and skills we just discussed before. And this can give you a possibility to identify what would be important for your school, for instance, in the field of knowledge for social issues, or what skills would you need for society, for social issues connected with sustainability. So it's just a structure you could use to structure sustainability dimensions in your school, and what knowledge, what values, what skills would be important when you like to address sustainability in your school or organization or wherever. On this slide, it deals with quality criteria to assess ESD in schools, so that can also give you the possibility, the opportunity, when you like to know, okay, my school, on which point are they standing now? What's the status quo regarding to ESD? How is ESD integrated into your school or organization, university? And you can see here some quality criteria regarding the quality of teaching and learning process, regarding the quality in school policy and organization, and also in schools' external relations. And when you go through these questions, you can find out what's your school doing at the moment, and maybe also where are areas that should be improved. So this was the first part of this presentation on teaching and learning for sustainable development. And in the second one, we will talk about learning styles and how can they be addressed in teaching in schools. Thank you.